This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Otley.
Welcome to History for Cocktail Parties. My name is Thornton Kennedy.
And I'm James Otley.
And today we're excited to welcome you to our show about the most important, influential alternative band, R.E.M.
Indeed, of all time.
And if I must admit, it's one of my favorite bands.
I think it is my favorite band.
100%. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, sold more than 90 million records, influenced bands like Nirvana, the Pixies, Pavement. And although you wouldn't think of it as a Southern story, because History for Cocktails does like to focus on Southern history, the four members met in Athens, Georgia. Three of them were students at the University of Georgia.
That's exactly right.
And appropriately, History for Cocktail Parties, we like to enjoy a cocktail as we record our show. And today we have warm beer.
Warm beer, perfect. Talking about a college band.
A throwback to the dormitory days. Before we get started, I do want to say a quick word about one of our partners, Play. History is full of lessons learned, and one of the big ones is that those who don't take action get run over by those who do. Play is a full-service ad agency and helps brands find their spark or reignite it. Their team of creative, quote, players, end quote, turns bold ideas into action with smart strategy, design, and digital know-how, helping new businesses launch strong and established ones move forward with fresh energy. Ready to grow your business? Get a free marketing consultation today at goplaydesign.com. That's goplaydesign.com. Thank you, Play. We appreciate your support.
We sure do.
And James, I like to ask you every week, where are we starting?
Well, this time, Thornton, we're going to begin at the begin.
Yeah,
as R.E.M. would say. I'm actually going to start out with Michael Stipe, his backstory. He originally went by Mike Stipe up through high school, all the way into to first year of college.
That seems so odd to refer to him as Mike Stipe.
Mike Stipe, exactly. And without exaggerating too much, the world can thank Publishers Clearinghouse and Aerosmith for starting Michael on his journey into music. I want to give you a little bit more of the backstory on Michael and how he got to Athens, or almost did not get to Athens, in the fall of 1978. Michael's father, who was Lieutenant Colonel John Wesley Stipe, was actually from Georgia. Went to North Georgia College. He's from Augusta. His mother, Michael's mother, was from Hapeville, Georgia. So he had the strong Georgia roots there. His father
he doesn't have an accent at all.
Well, I'm going to get to that. His father was an Army lieutenant colonel who flew helicopters in Vietnam.
Wow.
On really risky recon missions. And his tour of duty ended in 1972. And when that happened, they got stationed, moved back to stateside and got stationed at a base in St. Louis. And he moved the family there, and they lived in off-base housing in Collinsville, Illinois. I think Michael was around 12 years old at this time. And, Michael had a fairly typical childhood. His dad signed him up for Boy Scouts. His father was the scoutmaster. Michael was a Boy Scout. And kind of funny, Lieutenant Colonel Stipe, tried to teach Michael like survival skills, even gave him some of these Foxfire books from that we talked about. You drive past that in Mountain City going up to Cashers. So some of those books, and taught him homesteading and how to slaughter pigs and things like that. But as I understand it, Michael didn't really take too much. And so, at this point, Michael really hadn't found his thing. But all of that changed one day when his sister brought home one of those Publishers Clearinghouse 12 magazines for a penny.
Right.
And Michael apparently signed up for the Village Voice, which is a weekly journal of New York-centric arts and culture and music. And he was just enthralled with this magazine. He would wait at the mailbox, for it to come.
It's like a window into a different world.
Absolutely. And one name that kept popping up in the Village Voice was Patti Smith, and he kept reading articles about her. And when her album Horses came out, He went and he bought this record and he brought it home and he listened to it over and over and over again all night. And
Apparently, I've got to go listen to Patti Smith's Horses.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've ever listened to it.
It's well, I don't know that I have either, but it was a watershed moment for
It
Michael.
created R.E.M. for all intents and purposes.
I mean, it's the connection. I'm going to get to it in a minute. It's pretty wild, very fortuitous. But he later told an interviewer, he said after that night, he actually listened to the record all night, ate a big bowl of cherries all night, threw up the next morning, went to school. And he said that it was like this rebirth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he said, at that moment, I decided what I would do with my life. And that was music.
Which is
of course.
music, really?
Right, yeah. And
He
so
decided then and there he was going to be the lead singer
That's-
of a band that would sell 90 million
he
albums.
said he wanted to be famous and he wanted to be in a band. And so not long after that, he's riding around in the car one night with his friends. They're singing, singing along with the radio, and this Aerosmith song comes on, the song Dream On. And all of them are singing along to it until the very end when Steven Tyler repeats, the lyric Dream On, and everybody else stopped because it was so high. But Michael hit it. He went full falsetto, hit every note, and just absolutely nailed it. And everybody just went silent and said, "Holy cow, you can really sing."
Amazing.
And that apparently really, stuck with him. And so with some persuasion from his friend Melanie, I'm going to say pretty
I was
persuasion.
going to say, dude,
Yeah.
it's open. Go for it.
All right. So pretty persuasion from his friend Melanie. He joined a band called the Bad Habits. This was in high school. And everything was going well. But about this time, Michael's father retired and decided to move the family back to Georgia, actually to the Athens,
Right.
Georgia area.
Right.
And the plan was to move that summer after Michael had graduated from high school, and Michael could live at home and take classes at UGA. I mean, it seems like a great plan. But Michael didn't want to go. He didn't want to live in the South. He didn't want a Southern accent. And
There's
so-
that Southern accent.
Yeah, exactly. And so his parents said, "Well, that's fine. You can stay here, but on one condition. You've got to find your own place to live, and you got to pay for it yourself." And so Michael actually signed up to or enrolled in Southern Illinois
Yeah, you're like
University.
18 years old, something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, what if he had gone to college there? He
Right.
never would have met the other members of that, and R.E.M. never would have happened. Well, he's still in this band, the Bad Habits. They got a couple of gigs, but it's not enough to support himself.
Were they a punk band?
That's a great question. I don't know. I
think
don't
they
know.
were.
Okay, we'll go with that. And so after about 2 months, he's forced to pack up. It doesn't have enough money for his rent.
Thank God the Bad Habits didn't hit.
Indeed. And so he moves south. He moves in with his family, and that's how he makes it to Athens. And he gets to beautiful Athens, God's country as we call it. And
I don't think Michael Stipe called it God's country.
he didn't. He hated. He apparently hated it. Absolutely hated it. But he did find refuge at the UGA Art School and also at a record store called Wuxtree Records.
Wuxtree Records, man. Yeah.
And as fate would have it,
Still there today.
is it really?
I'm 100% sure Wuxtree is still in downtown Athens.
Fantastic. As fate would have it, Peter Buck was a clerk at this record store, Wuxtree Records, and it's a pretty crazy story of how Peter Buck.
And of course, Peter Buck is the guitarist of R.E.M. In
Yeah.
case
Right.
listeners don't know that.
Right. And so he was Peter Buck. His story is pretty crazy too of how he got there. His family he grew up in California, but his father was an executive with Simmons Mattress Company, whose headquarters is in Atlanta, Buckhead. Actually,
Who knew?
yeah. And so
I know now.
in high school, he got transferred, and the family moved to Atlanta, the Atlanta area. They moved out to Roswell, moved into Martin's Landing subdivision.
Wow.
Yeah, off of Holcomb Bridge Road, which as a kid, I had a couple of friends that lived out
Lived in
there.
Martin.
Yeah,
They were
and so-
neighbors with the Bucks.
yeah, I was out there playing, and Peter Buck was there. How
Babe,
cool!
I
How
know.
cool was that? 1975. So he graduated high school in 1975. He apparently had one of the highest SAT scores in the state, if not the highest.
Smart kid.
Absolutely. And he signed up, went to Emory.
Right.
So he goes to Emory. He's there a couple of quarters, and he, for whatever reason, he drops out. And
Well, he didn't drop out. He moved to California and didn't drop out. And when he came back, he had all Fs.
oh
And
no
he couldn't-
kidding!
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
He should have dropped out.
Yeah, exactly.
His GPA got so destroyed by the fact that he didn't drop out that he couldn't get back into school.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Another one of those butterfly flapping its wings
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Had he not failed all those classes, he would have stayed at Emory.
Good point.
Go ahead.
Good point.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Didn't mean
no,
to jump your mark.
that's an excellent interjection. And so he hitchhiked, as you said, to California, San Luis Obispo, and he moved into this kind of hippie house with or boarding house with these hippies. But he got sick of all of the pot smoke and jam bands and the fact that they didn't like the Sex Pistols.
Oh,
so he packs up again.
He's a man of principle.
Indeed. So he packs up again and hitchhikes his way back across the USA. And so he went to a record store down the street, looked for a job. They said, we don't have one. I think they sent him to the Atlanta location of Lux Tree, and they said, we don't have a place for you, but we do have a place for you in our smaller store in Athens. And so he packed his bag that afternoon. His brother actually already lived over there, was going to school at Georgia, and lived in this dumpy apartment building that I'm about to talk about in just a minute. And so, but he went over, he moved that afternoon, and so he was in Athens working at Lux Tree Records when, Michael Stipe walked in and started talking to him, and they became friends. Guess what Peter Buck's favorite magazine was in high school?
Village Voice?
That's exactly right. The Village Voice. And guess what his favorite album was in high school? Horses.
Horses.
Yeah. And so they, of course, hit it off and decide, realize they both play music. And so they decide to get together, play some songs. And so and Peter Buck, again, was living in this apartment building I mentioned before. It's kind of cool, and it's pretty critical.
It's not quite an apartment building.
Right.
It is literally some plywood boxes that have been built inside of an old rundown church.
Old decommissioned church, St. Mary's Church, I think.
And I think Peter Buck referred to it. He said, this thing has been romanticized, but the reality is it was just a shithole.
Just a dump, yeah. But so anyway, but it's kind of cool. Part of the sanctuary you could still access. It was like they built this, with plywood
boxes
inside the church, but part of the church was almost like a Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Sure.
It was like dank, and ceiling was, rain coming through the ceiling and that kind of thing. So they would get together and play music over at this St. Mary's apartment building.
I think Michael Stipe ends up crashing on the couch there.
He does.
He moves into Bill Berry's place.
He does. He gets a job at Steak and Ale to pay his rent. And so they decide to form a band. And
that's R.E.M.?
No, that's not. It's close. It's
Jumping the mark again.
Indeed. So Bill Berry said, Peter Buck said, hey, I know two guys that would be perfect. They hang out at the record store, the customers. Let me talk to them. But it wasn't Bill Berry and Mike Mills. It was two other guys. It was Kit Schwartz, who later was the drummer for a band called Love Tractor, which you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
And Paul Butcher, a guy who's now a music historian in Athens. And these two guys thought, man, that's a great idea to form a band. But they just needed to find a time they could all meet and get together and play. And college kids, man, they
couldn't get together.
They never could find the time to get together. But I tell you, one thing you should always make time for is to make sure that you have adequate insurance coverage on your assets.
What a brilliant segue. It allows me to talk about another one of our partners who were pleased to join us on each podcast, Sterling Seacrest Pritchard, one of the Southeast's largest privately held insurance brokers, and quite possibly the only agency brave enough to tackle everything from construction mishaps to healthcare misadventures, logistics disasters, real estate whoopsies, and even ransom notes from hackers who apparently have never heard of two-factor authentication. When it comes to your home, your business, and all the weirdness life can throw your way, SSP has you covered, usually before you even realize you need it. For a friendly guide through, wait, that can actually happen, to, do I need a lawyer? Call 678-424-6503 or visit sspins.com. That's sspins.com. And thank you, Sterling Seacrest Pritchard.
We truly appreciate your support.
And now, back to our program.
Picking back up. So Bill
So can you
Berry.
imagine? I mean, it's like being Pete Best
Yeah, exactly.
in the Beatles. I mean, these guys were touched. I mean, obviously they're successful in their own right. They go
Yeah.
on to play in
Right.
bands. They
Right.
probably don't cry over it, but
Yeah.
from an outsider's perspective,
Yeah.
50 years later,
Yeah.
wow.
They possibly would say if you asked them now, yeah, but it would have been neat to be an REM. So that's that again. It's just these situations where REM could have been made up of completely different members. So
Maybe I would argue when we get to know Bill Berry, you understand that he brought a different skill set to REM,
Yeah.
which is really one of the reasons that they stayed intact
Yeah.
and navigated all those contracts so well. He wanted to be a music attorney, and brought a different sensibility to his background, which you're going to get into.
right. Luckily, they had a good attorney, which we talked about on
I
on
know.
our previous episode. Burtis Downs, unofficial fifth member
I think
of
Burtis
REM.
Downs was at their second concert or something and was like, "These
Yeah.
guys are awesome."
Yeah, and I don't think he even did. I mean, he wasn't even. He was still in law school.
Yeah.
He, didn't have a law degree yet, but he said, "Look, I'll
Right.
I'll be your lawyer, and I'll do whatever I need to do to be your lawyer." And
It's a fantastic
yeah,
story.
for sure, for sure. All right, so let me tell you about Bill Berry and Mike Mills and how they almost didn't end up in Athens.
Right.
Right. So Bill Berry and Mike Mills lived in Macon. They went to high school together. When they first met, they didn't like each other.
Frenemies. They weren't even frenemies. They hated each other.
Yeah, but they got together. They started. Were in a jam band.
And Bill Berry, just for everybody, just to repeat kind of what I did earlier. Bill Berry, drummer for REM. Mike Mills is the bassist, but more importantly, he's that low key background vocalist.
Mhm. Yeah, I love his vocals.
I know.
Yeah.
He adds a layer to REM that
Yeah.
is just underappreciated,
For sure.
in my opinion.
I agree. I totally agree. So they get to be friends by playing in a band together, and I guess the lead singer in that band was he went off. He graduated.
Oh,
and
this
then
is the band that they had that would go play like weddings and
Yeah, and
different venues around Macon.
And I don't know the name of this band. Maybe we could look that up.
I think it was just a trio, and I think they're like one of their music teachers in high school had put them together.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when they graduated, neither Bill Berry nor Mike Mills were quite ready to go to college, so they decided to get an apartment together and get jobs. And Bill scored a job at a booking agency, which is
was connected to Capricorn Records.
Absolutely.
Otis Redding,
Yeah.
Allman Brothers.
Right
The
on.
big time.
It's amazing how much music it came out of Macon,
Right.
Georgia. Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing.
yeah, for sure.
All because of Phil Waldron.
Is that right?
That's another story.
Okay.
We'll get to Capricorn Records in the future.
But Mike Mills, he wasn't so lucky. He got he got a job at Sears, and I imagine he got sick of his job first. But at one point they both got sick of their jobs, and they decided, all right, maybe it's time to go to college now. And they said, well, UGA is as good a place as any. So,
But can I add a wrinkle that I
Yeah.
know you know?
tell it.
However, Capricorn Records, or this Paragon booking agency, in order to make inroads with younger listeners, because
Mhm.
they were Otis Redding and Allman Brothers,
Right.
they brought Ian Copeland in.
Yep.
To head up those efforts and to try to book acts that would, play at concert venues around the Southeast. Ian Copeland,
Had
his brother
famous brother,
is Stuart Copeland of the Police.
drummer of the Police.
And so Ian Copeland actually jams with Bill Berry and Mike Mills. So they already have this kind of music pedigree that is above where they probably would be as 18-year-olds.
And that kind of helps explain what I'm going to talk about in just a minute, this connection with the Police.
Right.
So Bill brought his drums to Athens, and he started playing with a band. It was a bunch of DJs from the college radio
Yeah, the
station.
WGUzers or
Yeah.
Wagers or something.
The Woogers.
Woogers.
Yeah, and what that name comes from, WUOG, Woogers.
There you go.
Yeah, and apparently they just had gotten drunk one night and decided to form a band, and they didn't really practice, but oddly enough, they got some gigs here
Yeah.
and there, and one really important one. This was when they got invited to open for the Police at the Georgia Theater.
Was that because of the connection between Ian Copeland and Stuart?
It has to.
assume that we can jump through that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a connection there, and that's the reason that it happened. And so they got along. The police really liked what their opening act, and they invited them to come along with them to play the rest of their shows. And
The police invited
yes,
this
yeah,
radio station
DJ band,
DJ band
yeah,
to tour with them.
yeah, exactly. And so, man,
That's awesome.
chance of a lifetime. I mean, this could have launched Bill Berry's music career. He never would have. I mean, never would have needed R.E.M. I mean,
Right.
he hadn't gotten together.
Off and running.
Right. Well, you and I probably would have taken that opportunity, but they couldn't. Bill couldn't, and the reason was they had math exams the next week.
Oh,
The next show, the next police show was
who
the
are
next
these
week.
people?
I know, and so they had to make a decision, and they stayed, and they took their algebra exam. So
James Otley probably would have
yeah,
done the math exam. He would have shown up. Thornton Kennedy would have been in the car,
right,
honking the horn. Let's
right.
go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're probably right about that. But anyway, so a math exam, algebra test, kept Bill Berry in Athens and made him available to
Another
be
butterfly flapping its wings. Incredible.
Absolutely. So let me tell you how Michael Stipe and Peter Buck, who I said were already playing music together, got together with Mike Mills and Bill Berry, who were, yeah. So this is where romance and
Always about a
yeah, I
woman.
tell you, and a freshman crush came into the picture. So Kathleen O'Brien was a college co-ed, and she may very well be the most important, and
Right?
critical component of REM coming together.
Right? She puts all four of them together.
She does. She had lived in Reed Hall, in
The
Athens.
famous Reed Hall.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been a student at the University of Georgia knows
knows
Reed Hall.
might have even, yeah. And so, when she lived there her freshman year, and Bill Berry lived in that dorm as well, that same year. And so her sophomore year, Kathleen moved off campus, and she moved in that same church
Right,
apartment building,
right.
St. Mary's Church apartment building, where Peter Buck was living. And she heard Peter Buck playing his guitar and remembered that Bill played the drums and thought, hey, they'd get along. And she had a crush on Bill from freshman year, so she
Ah.
thought, man, it might not be such a bad thing if Bill were hanging around the apartment building. So Kathleen introduced Bill and Peter at a house party in Athens, and then Peter introduced Bill to his friend Michael Stipe, and a few nights later at Tyrone's OC nightclub, Bill introduced Peter and Michael to Mike Mills, and Mike Mills apparently was so just sloppy drunk and I guess was kind of dorky that Michael Stipe immediately said, no freaking way.
No way.
Except he didn't say freaking, and so, but Bill Berry said, yeah, I didn't really like him. Trust me, he's a good guy.
And let's not forget, Bill Berry was not a fan of Mike Mills when he first met him either.
Well, that's
so
what
Mike
I
Mills
mean.
apparently does not make a good first impression.
Exactly. And so I think that's what he told me. It's like, look, I didn't like him either at first
Yeah.
blush, but he's a great guy and a great musician. So the four of them start getting together and playing some music, and they get together at the church.
Right.
And you can apparently you could still access the back part of the church, what was left of the sanctuary, through a hole in Kathleen O'Brien's closet. And so
Wow.
they would crawl back through there, take their instruments, and play in this church. And it just
Yeah, because the sanctuary, it still had the little riser at the front,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
still had like almost a performing stage
Yeah,
up there,
yeah,
although it was completely falling in on itself.
yeah, just kind of dank and dark and
Like
whatnot.
going into Narnia through the back of the closet. Are you
Narnia.
kidding me?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, as we mentioned, Michael ended up moving in. He slept on the couch for a while.
Right,
He
at
ended
Bill
up
Berry's.
moving into the church as well. And so,
Oh, sorry, Peter Buck.
yeah, and so Kathleen O'Brien had a birthday coming up, and after a lot of persuasion, again, maybe pretty
Oh,
persuasion,
my Lord,
yeah,
twice.
threw it in there twice.
Outstanding.
Convinced them to play for her birthday party. And she really had to talk them into it. So the party was her birthday was April 5th, 1980.
Wow.
And
You actually have a timestamp on that first show.
sure do. And so the party it was just, they held it in the back part of that church.
Right.
And it was apparently just epic. I mean, it could have been seen in a movie. There were kids that were sitting in the rafters. And again, you crawl through this hole to get
Yeah.
there. And, I mean, I guess it caught on. Tons of people were there.
She had initially just planned on doing, the traditional cold, beer and, let's hang out, but she
Yeah.
wanted something extra. She
Yeah,
just wanted,
yeah.
so she asked there were actually 3 bands that played that night.
You're exactly right. And
Yeah.
I think, maybe Kit Swartz with the Side Effects, which
I think you're right.
yeah.
I think they were, and there was actually a promo on that college radio station, and
No.
the second band beside the Side Effects were unidentified.
Come on.
They didn't have a name yet
But they did a promo on the
on
college
the radio
No
for
kidding.
Kathleen O'Brien's
Oh,
birthday party.
I had no
Isn't
idea.
that weird?
Yeah, well, that's probably in part
That's
with some
probably why so many
people
folks were there. There
yeah.
were a ton of people
Yeah.
there, and they
And
all had to climb through that stupid hole.
that and I think you could climb through a broken window
that
or
right?
that kind of thing. But I bet it was just, beer soaked. I mean, cigarette smoke, pot smoke, just
smoke,
yeah,
just
quite
having a
quite
great
the
time.
scene.
They were shocked that nobody fell through the floors.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and apparently they played some covers and they played some original songs. I think some of them they played a couple of songs of the Monkees.
Yeah, their encore.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah, they played, I think maybe Daydream Believer or something like that from the Monkees. It's an encore. A lot of covers.
What I would give to have been
And
at
that was their nick. A lot of folks felt like the Side Effects were the better band,
yeah,
but R.E.M. played faster,
Yeah.
with more energy,
yeah,
and the Athens folks hated the covers because it wasn't original.
right.
You had to
right.
be original. You were an
Yeah,
artist.
yeah,
You
yeah.
had to break new ground.
Right.
And so the fact that they, you know, didn't have original songs,
Yeah.
the snobs
Well,
turned
I
their nose up.
also got to say, I'm sure that R.E.M. songs that they were playing were so good that blew people away as well.
Well, first concert.
Yeah.
Not sure that their stuff was that tight.
Yeah.
However, they took off like a shot. By
Yeah.
their 4th concert, they were packing the house.
Yeah, yeah. So at that first show or that birthday party, the guy that booked bands for Tyrone's was there and asked if they wanted to
Right.
open for the Brains in May.
And the Brains had a hit.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were a
They were well
like
known.
a college band that people knew.
Yeah. And so it was they said, yeah, sure, and I think there was some story about they borrowed some kegs and the kegs
Was that
got
right?
stolen, and so they had to play another show to pay back
pay
the
back-
money for the stolen kegs. But anyway, so the
Of course.
they needed a name. They just had a placeholder name called the Twisted Kites, but they had to come up with their name for this upcoming show. And so the story goes that Michael was flipped open the dictionary, saw the term R.E.M., and just by chance it opened to that page, and he liked the term. But he said what he liked most about it were the dots, indicating that it was short for something else, and it could mean anything, everything, or nothing. And so they went with R.E.M.
I love it.
Indeed. And so one last kind of that. So as I said, the rest is history. But one last kind of quick anecdote on this. One more thing, if we talk about butterfly flap its wings or just chance and fate. Well, R.E.M. almost lost Bill Berry, as important
Wow.
as he was.
He was super important.
Indeed, to another Athens band. And late in 1980, Bill Berry started moonlighting with this other band, Love Tractor, and they had him fill in for a show or two. And Bill liked it so much, he said he offered to join the band outright. He had already dropped out of school at this point to focus on his music, and he was able to work out his schedule so he could play with both R.E.M. and Love Tractor. And Bill was obviously he dropped out of school. He was all in. He was committed. He was ready to make a career out of music. And so he went to the guys in Love Tractor and he said, "Hey, are you guys all in? Are you ready to quit school and really commit to this thing?" And, as I said, Bill was ready, and he's ready to ditch R.E.M. at this point and go full on with Love Tractor if they would commit. And two of the band members of Love Tractor, they were so close to graduating that year that they said, man, they couldn't do it.
Oh, my
They had to
gosh.
graduate first. They couldn't quit school, but
Imagine
maybe
had
after
they
that.
said, "You know what? Let's go."
So he goes to R.E.M. and asks them the same question. He says, "Are y'all ready to commit? Are you ready to go all in? You ready to quit school?" And R.E.M. said yes.
Outstanding.
Indeed. And so that's I think the point we can say. And the rest
The rest.
is history for cocktail parties.
My introduction to R.E.M. was Life's Rich Pageant.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that was probably 86, something like that. And it was the song Superman. We played it over and over again.
I love that
Superman
song.
was a cover
Was it? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
by The Click,
Huh.
1969. And those early performances as I said, they got some negative feedback from some of the Athens music scene folks because they did so many covers. But Michael Stipe, that Aerosmith story is interesting because he had this ability to mimic other singers.
Yeah.
So he could sound rockabilly.
Yeah.
He could sound like Aerosmith.
Yeah.
He could kind of be fluid in terms of his vocals and how he sang. So he didn't really have an identity. He would kind of borrow from other
Sure.
folks and mimic
Yeah,
how they
interesting.
sang.
I think, I mean, I don't, maybe I'm biased, but I think he's maybe one of the greatest singers that's ever stood in front of a microphone.
He certainly has a distinct voice, and it's interesting to me because he was so shy.
Yeah.
And yet
Yeah.
he wanted to be Roger Daltrey. He wanted to
Right.
be he wanted to be a big rock star.
Yeah.
But oftentimes he would stand with his back to the audience
Yeah.
because he was so
Yeah.
shy.
Like Jim Morrison did at the beginning.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
good.
great story, incredible. The founding of the band R.E.M., the early days. Maybe in the future we can get to the next chapter of R.E.M. and how they took off to become such a big band, including IRS Records
Yep.
and the Warner Brothers contract, which at the time was like the biggest contract ever signed
Yeah.
by a band. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, 90 million records sold, and
It's
they
a lot.
started right in Athens, Georgia, playing in an old, nasty, falling in church.
Indeed. Indeed.
Awesome.
Well, thank you all so much for listening, and hope you'll hit like and subscribe and all those good things.
And comment.
Indeed. This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Otley.